rounds 5 and 6 of the British GT Championship. Now this weekend we have 2 sprint races for you as the teams go into battle around this awesome circuit. Long straights and a twisty infield should see some fast and furious racing. The 3-hour epic at Silverstone proved to be a dramatic affair. Here's Martin Haven to remind us of the action.
Silverstone was the biggest and toughest race of the year, and with a huge grid of cars battling for every inch of track, it was almost inevitable there'd be some contact. This may have been an endurance race, but the pace was frantic. Through the drama, Michael Caine and Ahmed Al-Harfi kept cool heads to bring the Oman Racing Aston home and claim the win.
I'm happy we did win it, and it was a perfect weekend for us. Everybody is in here to win this championship, and I think that as long as we continue our philosophy and score as many points as we can and make sure we have perfect race weekends and learn from our race weekends, that's what's the most important for us at the moment.
Rick Parfitt collided with Andrew Jarman trying to take the GT4 lead, allowing the twisted Parker Ginetta of Bradley Ellis and Adrian Barwick to claim their first win.
It was an absolutely brilliant weekend for the team. So one of those weekends where I think we've made such few mistakes. I managed to get on the pace. Brad was just brilliant as usual, and everything just came together.
So after 4 races, Marco Attard and Alex Sims lead the way, just 2.5 points ahead of reigning champion Andrew Howard with Johnny Adam. Andrew Jarman and Devon Modell 3 points ahead in GT4. Snetterton's always been special for Tom Onslow Cole. He'll be hoping it can bring him some luck this weekend.
This place holds some good memories for me. My first BTCC win in 2007, which was a while ago now, but more relevant, it's the first time I actually got to drive the Aston. This is where I really got hooked on GTs. To a certain extent, a car's a car. You know, there's 5 wheels and I'm only in charge of one of them, so I haven't got too much on that side. But it's the strategy, the driver changes, and that side of things that is extremely different. And for me, in my first ever races, the most nerve-wracking point is the driver change. Making sure that you've got everything right, not to lose any time in the pits, is just something I haven't had experience with. But the more races I'm getting under my belt, the more sort of settled and easier and second nature these things are becoming.
The CWS team have shown pace in the past. They're struggling to get out of the GT3 mid-pack, though, and hope for a change in their luck.
I think it's been quite a difficult year, truthfully. We've had quite a number of problems, accidents, and just a lot of things not quite going our way. So really looking forward to this weekend at Snetterton. And hopefully we can put a few things straight. You know, we've the balance performance has been slightly adjusted to help us out a little bit. Not too sure how that's going to affect things, but for sure we're probably in our best condition yet.
And another wrinkle for Snetterton, a brand new teammate to consider.
When Colin told me that he wasn't going to be here, he was my first choice. So I got on the phone and he was happy to take part. You know, this is his 10th year in the British GT, so he loves it, and any opportunity to get back in the car, and he grabbed it.
Well, it's race time here at Snetterton. My goodness, aren't these conditions just perfect? The sun is out, there's very little wind, and this is one packed grid of supercars. In fact, just look at the front 4. You've got an Aston Martin taking on a Porsche, a Ferrari, and a BMW. Oh, supercar action at its very finest.
It's a rolling start for round 5 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship, and we're back to 2 one-hour sprints after the 2 hours of Rockingham and 3 hours of Silverstone. Pole sitter is Marco Attard in the BMW. On the right in front of us, Jody Firth on the left, Pazin Latouras in the Ferrari. And Firth moves into second place from 3rd on the grid. The inside line into the first corner of Ritchie's seems to be the one that is working well. Hot conditions here. It's going to be very tough on the drivers, might be tough on the tyres as well. Safely around the Montreal hairpin for the leaders and for the rest of the field on board with Adrian Barwick, 8th in GT4. Barry Baxter's Porsche on the outside. That's the white tail of Andrew Jarman's Aston Martin just in front of us. Heading down to Agostini's, Marco Attard leads from the black and orange Porsche of Jody Firth. Great start for the track speed car. They've had such rotten luck this season. Hope they can turn it around here at Snetterton. Car number 21, the Aston Martin of Paul White in 15th place, chasing the man in front of us now. That's Chris Hoy. Dust being kicked up already as drivers use all the road and a little bit more. They'll want to avoid that if they need to keep their tyres for this endurance race and to hand over in good condition to their teammates. That's the rule all the way down the order on the tight, twisty infield here at Snetterton. Can't afford to be sliding too much. On board with Adrian Barwick once more. GT4 Ginetta, Paul McNeely in front. Andrew Jarman's white Aston Martin has got by him. And Jarman full of confidence after winning at Silverstone for the first time. The heat of Snetterton might be a very different prospect though. Massive field of 31 cars and a big crowd out here enjoying them on this fast Norfolk circuit. John Minshaw hounding the back of Passin Laturas in the Ferrari. Jody Firth with Marco Attard, the race leader. Now starts the war of attrition. Heat on the drivers, heat on the tyres are both going to be factors here, as is the new infield sector. It's second and third gear stuff in these big GT3 cars. The GT4s will be able to race a little more wheel to wheel. They've got a bit less power, a bit less speed to contain. Jody Firth in that number 12 car, I'm sure, will be desperately hoping for a little better fortune than they've enjoyed so far this season. The track speed car has really been over-endowed with good luck. Paul McNeely, 7th in the GT4 class with Adrian Barwick right behind. Oz Yusuf leading in the Lotus. And he's got Rick Parfitt now closing in on him, leaving Morton Dons behind. As your lead quartet continue to try and escape the field and breaking down into little groups. Marco Attard has shaken off Jody Firth. Passin Laturas in front of us as we ride in 4th place with John Minshaw. Andrew Howard out back in the Aston Martin. Changing the leadership at GT4. That is the Ginetta of Rick Parfitt Jr. ahead of the white and blue Lotus of Oz Yusuf, the man who started the class on pole. So Parfitt, after a disastrous Silverstone encounter, now in the lead of the class. The fortunes of that car have been up and down over the last 2 years. In the end, claiming the championship title. Let's take a look at the pass. Yusuf down into the Montreal hairpin, runs wide, and immediately snaffling the position, just avoiding contact, goes Parfitt. John Minshaw chasing Passin Laturas. The Ferrari squirming under braking and off the corner. Minshaw wiping sweat off his face there as he gets the power down, drives around the outside of the Ferrari. This is going to be changed finally for 3rd place. He's worked very hard for this, John Minshaw, and now he grabs the spot into riches. The question is, he's already had a couple of lunges and Laturas has fought back. Can he stay in front? Down to the hairpin, gets to the apex first. Right behind them is Andrew Howard in the Aston Martin. 55, the black car, Ollie Bakesy-Fisher behind Morton Dons. Ginetta, and then Ross Wiley in the Aston Martin, number 407, giving chase. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, Yusuf, Dons and Bakesy-Fisher. Morton Dons in the white number 43 car. 4th, 5th and 6th, the Ferrari of Thai driver Passin Laturas. The Aston Martin of Andrew Howard, and right behind the 888 BMW of Derek Johnston. Johnston closing in fast on this group. He's having a really good run so far in car number 888. Looks tight at the exit there of the corner. Oh, and further back there's contact, and that is Gary Eastwood. Looks like he's been shoved off, and that's the red and black Aston Martin of Mark Poole with Phil Driver's blue and black Aston going around the outside of him for 7th. Well, Eastwood's car is sitting there ticking quietly. I bet he's not. Let's take a look down into Murray's. Look at the extreme right-hand side. I'm afraid the Aston was in too late, too deep. That's the 2nd race in a row that that number 18 Ferrari has been thumped off by somebody else's mistake. And that is the end of the race for a very disappointed Gary Eastwood. Battle for 4th place, Passin Laturas, Derek Johnston and Andrew Howard. Johnston's BMW's already got by the Aston Martin. Now looking at the Ferrari, as they run down to the Montreal hairpin. The Thai driver with the inside line, but the BMW comes from so far behind. Clatters right into him, and Latouris is now going to have to wait forever for a gap in the traffic. There's one, no. Here comes the Bentley and the Aston. Now he's got it going. He's going to have to bump over that high curb. Luckily doesn't get beached, but that has cost him at least 8 places. Well, this was over-ambition on an epic scale by Derek Johnston. I think he's just miscalculated the closing speed and slams the back of the Ferrari. Rory Butcher in the Oman racing team. There's teammate Michael Caine, suiting and booting, ready for the pit stops. Marco Attard still leading in the Acuria Cos BMW as Jody Firth in 12 and John Minshaw in the renumbered 63 follow each other nose to tail, trying to work together as they carve their way through the GT4 field. Oh, and there's trouble. That's Hamad Al Masoud. This is his first drive in the Bentley he shares with Stephen Caine, and he's looped it round. He's taken the nose off. Looks as though Caine is ready to change over, but I don't think he's going to be needed. Let's take a look at where this happened. And it is coming out onto the Bentley straight. Ironically, he loses control and clatters into the barriers. And that is a sad end to his debut. British GT Championship at Snetterton, teammates Jody Firth and John Minshaw helping each other work through traffic as they chase leader Marco Attard. In the pit lane, Barry Baxter in the GT4 Porsche. He'll hand over to Dan Camish, and this is going to be very busy. Notice how the cars are having to park nose in such a tight pit lane here at Snetterton. That is going to make life difficult for the teams and the drivers, and so ideally you don't want to have all the cars in one go. Well, here is the second place pairing. Coming up behind the GT4 leader, Rick Parfitt Jr. They're going to catch him at the most difficult part of the circuit for them, where they can't get by, and that is the final corner. Leader is on pit road. Marco Attard comes in the Acuria Cos BMW, and Parfitt is coming in as well, and so too are the second and third place Porsches. And that means that Derek Johnston in the 888 BMW, who eschews the pits this time round, will be our new race leader. As you can see, it is going to be very, very busy. Almost everybody coming in immediately, which seems counterintuitive, but that's the way they're planning it, I guess. Drivers will be out. No fuel needed in these 1 hour sprint races, but a hand to get the new drivers strapped in. Well, confusion for the teams trying to find the cars and for the drivers trying to find the teams. You see the Twisted Parker team using a massive sign to attract their GT4 Ginetta in as the GT4 Porsche leaves. Marco Attard's car being pushed back now with Johnny Cocker, the former champion, in it. He's got to wait another 5 seconds though, because they're on the podium at Silverstone, and that means that they will move down to third, no, into second, as they squeeze out behind the number 63 Porsche and in front of the number 12. So the Demon Tweeds car has gone from third to first effectively in the pits. Oh, and trouble for our GT4 leaders as well. Tom Oliphant can't get it started. Maybe that's heat soak in these hot temperatures. And finally it coughs into life. On board with the Lotus, Gavin Kershaw being pushed out fast. Oh, look, and there's the Ginetta as they get push started, so that's a change in leadership too. Also being held is the number 1 car, Johnny Adam taking over from Andrew Howard. 10-second penalty for them, and they will come out behind the number 5 Oman Racing Aston Martin.
It must feel awesome at the moment.
No, it's nice to be at the front. It makes a change, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's representative of the driver pairing and where the car really can be.
Yeah, I mean, you're owed one of these, aren't you?
Well, we are. We've had some really bad luck. I mean, Silverstone was a disaster. Alton Parker got punted off. Rockingham got punted off. So I think it's we've changed the race number to 63 as opposed to 33, hoping to bring us a bit of luck. You never know. You never know.
Both track speed cars could really do with a bit of luck. Phil Keane in front of Johnny Cocker, and it seems that their teammate Warren Hughes has dropped off the back of this group in the second of the track speed Porsches, and that frees up Johnny Cocker really to attack at will, which he would not be able to do if Warren Hughes was right up his exhaust. He can really pile the pressure on Phil Keane. Watching from the pit lane, I'm sure, is his teammate Marco Attard.
We lost a little bit of the pit stop because we had that 5-second penalty from our success penalty from last time. We haven't had that. I think we'd still be in front, but anyway, we'll just have to see how it goes.
What are you feeling? Can he take it?
I don't know. I mean, Phil Keen's a really good driver, without a doubt, and he won't make a mistake, and well, hopefully he does, but I don't think he will.
Is that the secret on this one? Just don't make any mistakes now.
I think in the end we just want points. So if we, I'm happy if we can keep second, that's great. But if we can get first, we like it.
Jake Giddings in the Aston Martin in GT4 with Tom Oliphant right behind him. That's the battle for second and third, and scything his way through is our race leader Phil Keen, using traffic well. Johnny Cocker determined not to get balked and left behind, catches the Aston on the run down to the final corner. There's your race leader in GT4, Gavin Kershaw in the Lotus. And the GT4 battle behind him being interrupted by the faster cars can only help his cause. Marco Attard and Jody Firth, their cars second and third, look pretty happy, but I think Jody's smile is about to evaporate because Warren Hughes is rolling surely to a halt. That is unbelievably bad luck. They have had no luck at all this season, and the car is now out of the race.
Jody, we're talking to you sooner than we want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not unsure what's happened yet. Warren's picked up a puncture or suspension damage or something. I don't know if it's through contact or just a pure failure. But obviously because he's had to be moving around the track slowly, and in these hot conditions the car's starting to overheat, so the advice from the team was to pull over and stop the engine.
Last lap of the race. The battle for victory still comes down to these two cars. They've been nose to tail since the moment they left the pit lane after the stops. And Johnny Cocker must be getting really bored at the back of Phil Keen's Porsche. He's been close, but he's not been able to put in a move yet. Phil Keen has kept him under control. Has Cocker got anything left to show? The track speed Porsche exits and heads down into the bomb hole. Final time around Coram Curve, and still the Porsche is just out of harm's reach. Johnny Cocker on his return to the championship has got nothing to offer, it would seem. Phil Keen has kept him bottled up, and he has not been able to show anything that Phil Keen couldn't handle. Out to the last corner, heading to the checkered flag. It is going to be victory for Track Speed Porsche, inches in front of the Acuria Cost BMW, and behind it's an all BMW battle for third place as well. The two 888 cars, Luke Hines and Joe Osborne, rushing up to the line, nose to tail, keeping it clean. Hines puts the 888 car on the podium. In the GT4 class, it's the Lotus heading to victory for the first time in 2014. First win of the year for the GT4 Lotus of Yusuf and Kershaw. After clashing off Passin Laturis, Derek Johnston excluded, so 888 teammates Mole and Osborne inherited third, but our winners, John Minshaw and Phil Keen.
Phil, well done, mate. First win of the year.
Yeah.
You worked for that, didn't you?
I did. Johnny kept me honest. Seriously, he's a good peddler and a good team, good car. So, yeah, it was tough.
Particularly towards the end, it looked like he was really catching you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we don't have the aero of these guys. So, as soon as we lose the tyres, we just rely on the Porsche's straight line speed, really, to keep us ahead. So, it was difficult, especially around here.
Obviously, the main focus for this weekend is to get Marco the biggest haul of points we can. And, yeah, I did my best job I could today, but yeah, we're looking forward to the next race. I mean, the Porsche we knew was always going to be a really tough car to race against. It's very, very strong in the straight line. All of our performance really is in the corners. So, not much I could do really, but I did my best, and just waiting for a little mistake maybe or a bit of traffic. A lucky break for me, but it didn't really come, so yeah, close.
First win in the GT4 this series. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's come slower than we thought after fantastic rounds at Alton, then bad luck Rockingham, Silverstone, and a bit Snetterton when we had a change of luck. And we've been quick all weekend, and Aussie's done an amazing job. The team trying up the ante as guys from work visit us in the paddock and stuff. And it's a lot of people around. It's good pressure. So no, it's fantastic.
A great result for Keen and Minshaw. Can they do it again in race 2? Johnny Adam in the Aston Martin was on pole for the second encounter with Adam Carroll alongside in the number 18 Ferrari. The Aston Martin driver controlled the pace and the pressure superbly, taking the lead into the first turn. Everybody made it through safely, and amazingly, they repeated the process at the hairpin, though there were a couple of close shaves. At the beginning of lap 2, then it all came to an end. John Gore hit Luke Hines' BMW and the Aston of Andy Schultz, bringing out a red flag. Thankfully, all the drivers escaped okay. The cars, however, were heavily damaged, and the clear-up operation took some while. On the restart, it wasn't long until there was more drama. An axle failure pitched Tom Sharp into a huge crash in his Ginetta. Dan Camish hit the front of the GT4 battle, taking the lead from Gavin Kershaw's Lotus. After victory in race 1, the Lotus hit more problems and would eventually retire. Johnny Adam handed over the #1 Aston Martin with the race lead. As John Minshaw left the pits, his Porsche got in between the leaders in the GT4 category, Adrian Barwick's Ginetta emerging ahead of the Porsche. At the checkered flag, it was the first win of the season for reigning champion Andrew Howard and co-driver Johnny Adam. And there was a second win after Silverstone for Twisted Team Parker, the Ginetta drivers Bradley Ellis and Adrian Barwick taking victory. GT4 win #2 for Barwick and Ellis, a first podium for Paul White and Tom Onslow-Cole. Adam Carroll second on his debut, but the win goes to Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard.
Johnny, just amazing. That first stint was just amazing. He's in a league of his own, absolute league of his own. So for me, it was just a question of getting on with it, keeping the gap and staying in front.
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but it actually feels better than Silverstone, because that felt like it was worked for. Silverstone, Brad gave me such a kind of not an easy lead, but he gave me enough just to be able to just drive through it. But this, I thought we fought for.
Well, Snetterton has really shaken up the standings. Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam take the points lead as Minshaw and Keane move up to 5th after winning race 1. Giddings and Wiley retake the GT4 lead.
Well, I hope you'll agree, we have just witnessed 2 absolutely outstanding British GT races, thanks to an excellent Snetterton that has delivered once again as a track that brings out the best in these fine machines. So what happens next for our racers and our teams? Well, they have to pack up and head across the channel to the beautiful Belgian circuit of Spa. We'll see you there.